What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Brady's PC, episode 189, as we are swinging our way through the season finale of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday evening, as always. We appreciate the support, whether you're joining us on Facebook, if you're joining us on YouTube, or around the audio on the podcast. We always appreciate it. We got some stuff to get into. No movie this week, since we did have Captain America Brave New World just last week. If you need that review, it is up exclusively. We have our episode from last week, along with Pop Culture Pros released the review on its own video right now, which is actually doing really, really well. I gotta say.
Is it really?
It is. Last I saw, we were over 3,000. So, doing pretty well.
Wow, that's crazy.
So
I just kind of pretend that no one's listening. That's how I get through it. I pretend no one's listening. So when I hear that we have views like that, I'm like, holy shit.
It's cool, and we appreciate everyone out there who's listening and checking us out. I agree. Listen, we're just having a conversation. Everyone's free to come and enjoy it and check it out and join in the conversation. Lighthearted. It's fun and informative. Comedic informative. You say that's kind of what its own, right?
Exactly.
So, we
tell a few jokes. We give you little facts, little reviews.
Yeah, we try our best, and it'll come along for the ride. So, we do got Harley Quinn, season 5, episode 6. Invincible, season 3, episode 5. And then the 2-part finale of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, which I am obviously dying to get into because, man, I have some wild stuff going on. So,
I think it hooked me, Ed. I think it finally hooked me.
Oh, wait a second. Does the show's
I think it finally hooked me. It took till the end, but Stock Ock has gotten his mitts on me.
Love it. Yeah, Jason, what's up, dude? How's your week, though? How's it going?
It's been good. Can't complain. I was off this week. My son's birthday was this week, so we had a party yesterday. We did birthday stuff for him. Got to do a little karaoke on Friday, which is always nice. You know how much I love to sing, Ed.
You do.
So that was, I really do. Still the beard. The beard is going strong. This has now outlived Lex Luthor. This has outlived the bit. This was a bit, my people who are listening, and now here it is. It's just become part of the terrain.
Nice. I like it. It was you are. Wow, everything really is going right now. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't clock it. I wasn't even paying attention to it as we were on here. But no, it's looking good though. It's looking good.
No, I mean, thank you. I noticed I was going gray. I'm like, I got to do something. I mean, I spent my entire adult life without the hair up there. I got to do something here. Now that it's going gray, I could become an old Zen ninja, an old kung fu master from like Kill Bill. That's my dream.
Wow, okay, nice. I like it. I like that for you. I think that's a good move. You gotta get like a robe and stuff, like a gi.
Look, I'm gonna get a gi. I already got the shaved head. I already got his position. Get me a young American girl to rough up and train. Because that's what he does. He just beats the shit out of Uma Thurman. That movie is training.
That is true. She does go through a lot of shit in that movie. Man, I haven't watched that in a while. I'm gonna have to. I should go and revisit that soon because I love Kill Bill. Like both of them, man.
Oh, both of them are phenomenal. I'm partial to the first one, but
me too.
Both
me too.
Of them are.
It's funny. I know we're gonna. I feel it now. We'll go off on this for a second. But what was your? I don't know if we ever talked about this, but what was your take on them? The studio forcing him to split the movie into 2 versus releasing it as one movie because they thought nobody was going to sit there and watch the entire runtime of Kill Bill. But then when I remember leaving Volume 1 and being so down for more, and we had to wait like a half a year to see Volume 2.
Yeah. I get why they did it, but I didn't agree with it. Like it's one movie. Excuse me.
Mhm.
I don't think I've ever sat down and just watched one of them. Like if I'm watching Kill Bill, I'm watching both back to back, or I'm not doing it. Because I in my head it is just one movie.
It is. It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Although
also I'm sure this had
I do
something to
like
do with it too.
this had a lot to do with it, yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say that I do like the teaser that they give you at the end, where not teaser, but it's like when you just hear them all talking from the next movie.
Cliffhanger. Yeah.
I think one of my favorite lines comes from that, and I don't like it as much in the second one when it actually appears, but it's Michael Madsen is like, "Oh, she's got a right to kill us. We've done her wrong," and like I thought, stuff like that. And you got Bill talking, so it's a mixed bag. I think it is the same movie, but I think they do a fun job of like teasing out for the next one enough where I was like, okay, you've given me something here.
Yeah, I remember being really, really excited leaving that theater, and I was so annoyed that the movie was ending, and I wanted it to keep going because I think, like, I don't even remember the runtime of Volume 1 is, but I do feel, and I've always felt like this, that when you don't feel the runtime of a film, that's when you know you're fully on for the ride and you're really invested
Oh,
in the film. When you're not feeling the runtime.
100%. We talked, we just said about who would people have sat there for 3 hours. It's like I can't speak for everyone, but I sat the Hateful Eight was about 3 hours, and I love that movie. I don't feel the runtime on that at all. I thought it's a fucking amazing movie in my opinion. So like, yeah, I think people would have been fine with the 3 hour runtime. It's just it was a different time,
Yeah, and when I went to see, I remember when I went to see the Hateful Eight, they had the intermission, and because I saw it in a theater, in a small theater in Manhattan, in the Village, and I think it was the whatever millimeter screening was. Yeah, the intermission. And it was really brief though. I mean, it really was a time to just go. You had to take a piss and basically come back, and then you were good.
And I appreciate that. If you're going to give me a 3 hour movie, yeah, put intermission in there. Let me go take a piss and stretch my legs, and I'll come back.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Although Ed, don't forget, you and I both sat and watched the Dark Knight trilogy back to back to back in the theater. So I think we're probably the wrong people to ask if we could sit for a long time.
Oh, listen, my bladder is trained for movies. I mean, you know this. We've seen many movies together now.
Yes.
I never get up. That's it.
No, you don't.
I'm in.
You don't. I strategically get up if I don't want to be in the movie, unless I really, really have to go.
Oh, and I get it.
You never get up. You're stalwart.
No, I'm done. And there are times where, in the final act, there is some holding going on there. But I try to power through. So I'm like, definitely can't go now. So I just got to keep going. All right. So there you go. There's some Quentin Tarantino Kill Bill talk to open up the show that we totally had nothing planned, but always good.
Why not?
All right.
Why not?
Let's jump into it then, shall we? We got Harley Quinn season 5, episode 6. We'll drop that spoiler ticker across the bottom and leave it there for the whole show because we are going to be spoiling all the shows that we're talking about now, and they all have been out for less than a week now. All right, so we saw the return of Brainiac this week in Harley Quinn.
We did.
And I will say that one thing it stood out to me, and it's probably helps that it's the last thing that we saw, because I watched this morning. This was the first episode of Harley Quinn I remember leaving on like a very silent note at the end. Like it was a pretty dark moment at the end, and that kind of snapped me out of it for a minute. While I was just like, "Oh shit," things got serious for a second.
Yeah, it's a dark moment, and it's a dark moment ending a ridiculous episode. Like this episode is just balls to the wall ridiculous. And we'll get into it, but overall, what were your thoughts? Did you like this one? Because I know we've been talking like they kind of missed on the Brainiac one. How would you feel about this one?
I enjoyed this episode. It was definitely pretty zany and stuff like that, and it was out there. It was the musical stuff made me think of you immediately. Once that came into play, right? And I'm not going to say that, but I also felt a kinship with Bane. Besides my random imitations of Bane throughout time since The Dark Knight Rises, I felt a kinship because he was tasked with writing this play and was forced to turn it into a musical. And he was even like, well, I don't understand. I hate musicals. People will start wondering why people are not just talking and they're randomly singing.
Think about you with that.
I was like, yes, Bane, you are my fucking spirit animal right now.
People watching. I love that. People watching are going to go, why are these people singing? I did think about you when he said that.
Man,
so does that mean that you're the Bane to my Clayface? Or I'm the Clayface to your Bane?
I guess so.
Because I'd be Clayface in that scenario.
Oh no, there's no question about it that you would. And again, like yes, I can totally see that. I can see the singing there. I can totally see that. Yes, that's who we are in Harley Quinn, apparently.
I love it. We could have done a lot worse.
we definitely could have. We could have been much worse.
But yeah, I really like this episode. I have one thing. I'm going to get this out of the way first. One thing that I was disappointed in, and that was I felt it set up something really cool that it just kind of kicked to the side right away. Whereas I was kind of hoping to at least get an episode of Lois Lane and Harley Quinn working together. Yeah. But that's kind of done in the first 5 minutes. Yeah. And that's gone. I mean, it was some good gags there, like Harley Quinn's Pulitzer. I want a Pulitzer. No one cares about your fucking Pulitzer.
Yeah, I dug that running joke there and how before she's gonna go into it, everyone starts saying it basically at the Daily Planet and everything. I thought that was funny.
Yes.
But I do think there was a missed opportunity. I fully agree with it. There was a missed opportunity, even for at least a half an episode, to see Harley Quinn working as a sidekick for Lois Lane.
Yeah, exactly. There was some fun stuff they could have done. But what we got I thought was good. So the long and short of it is that they're both trying to figure out right in the beginning, Harley and Lois, what's going on, the weird stuff going on. And Lois is convinced that it has something to do with the person that Harley and Ivy killed. And it's funny because you see them walking around talking about this, and you just see those Brainiac bots disintegrating people behind them, and they're not even noticing, but because they're so focused on finding out what's weird here.
Yeah, nothing weird's going on. No.
Yeah, it must be this murder. It's certainly not these Brainiac bots.
Yeah.
And then they're eating, and Harley's like, no, it doesn't have anything to do with that guy. We killed him. And then that leads Lois to run to the paper to try to write the story. And Harley goes to the paper and talks to Perry White. And I'm sitting in, and this is why I love this show. I'm like, there's no fucking way Harley's not going to know that that's Clayface. This is ridiculous. She worked with Clayface for years. And as Perry White's going oh, we cannot do that. This is about theater, whatever he says. And she's like, all right, Clayface, cut the shit. She fucking sees right through it.
Yeah, and I also love the fact that when Clayface is basically disguising himself as anybody, it seems like Clayface still keeps his teeth though while that's happening, just to kind of make it super obvious that it's him. Excuse me, weren't sure.
Yeah, exactly. Just to make sure you know. And I love Harley's of course I know it's you, Clayface. That douchey way you say Pulitzer, which was a great moment.
Yeah, Master of Disguise can't turn that off either.
No. That's a funny thing is he's such a bad actor. He's such a bad actor. He's so funny. So she forces him to have Lois print the retraction. By just sort of, blackmailing him. We go to Lena Luthor in space, talking with Brainiac, and Brainiac is like, no, you should let me kill Harley. And Lena's like, no, they're the only things interesting around here. And she starts throwing the monkey bones at him because he refuses to see that his monkey's dead.
Yes.
And he goes, you know what, forget it. The deal's off. I'm sending you back. And he sends her back. And that is when she has the change of heart goes and she gets all of the people together and tells her story in hopes they'll stop Brainiac. And what they decide to do is to educate the people by writing a musical.
Yes. And they seek out the perfect writer, Bane, who happens to be, by the way, sits in Perry White's office with Clayface, who's disguised as Perry White, while this is all going on.
I love that moment. Yes, and I love the moment where he's I don't even remember what he says, but he says something, and Harley goes, Bane, can you just shut up, please? And he goes, what? I only said one thing. I was just sitting here quietly eating pistachios.
Again, Bane with the most mundane things you could possibly reach.
I love Bane. So literally, I've never loved Bane as much as I do in this show. And so there's a great scene where Perry White is still like shackled to Clayface's apartment's radiator, and there's a back and forth. He sees their writing. Clayface leaves, and Perry White goes, Bane, I mean, I really got nothing to do here. I mean, I can help you write it. And Bane goes, clearly you're not a very good writer, as you didn't recognize that the scene was over when Clayface left. And then it cuts to the next scene.
Favorite moment of the entire episode. That was hilarious.
Yeah. It was such a meta moment. I loved it. So Harley's thing is, she had an award. And this is what she's fighting with Lois over. But the Pulitzer is that she won best non-singing role in a musical for playing the Hills in The Sound of Music.
Yes. She has an award that gets broken.
And she gets so mad about it. And I love Frank's the Hills are on a roll. Yeah, the Hills are a roll. It's in the title. The Hills are alive.
And the fact that Harley and Frank have heard this so many times that they even start reciting it as she's saying it. So to know that Harley's been telling them this story for fucking years.
Fucking years. It's great. So Harley then decides that she is going to play Lena Luthor in this musical. She blackmails Clayface, so it's her as Lena, Clayface as Brainiac, and Frank as the monkey.
Yes, of course.
And
of course, Frank's the monkey.
What's of course he is. And what's absolutely brilliant about this, hey bud, what's absolutely brilliant about this is that they're doing this musical. Lena's like, I would not sing that. I would not, I would, thank you, buddy. Have a good night. Sorry. I would not wear that blazer. I would not sing that. I would not do this or that. She's like, Harley's like, this isn't about you. This is about I would do as you. There's a great line where she goes, what, Bane, I don't like this line. I'm not saying it. Brainiac's not going to let me rule Metropolis. I'm a strong woman. I can do what I want. And Bane's like, Lena literally said he said that.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how Clayface and Harley are giving him so much shit about the script he wrote, and they're just telling him to get on it. He has to make all these last-second changes, obviously, highlighting how difficult some actors can be. I'm sure, on sets and stuff like that. I thought that was great.
And it's Bane. He's not a fucking writer. Yes. It's awesome. But yeah, so then this is my favorite part of the episode is Brainiac is watching the end of the musical, which people are loving the musical. People are going crazy for the musical, right? In the audience. And the musical triggers him to start going through what Brainiac is going through in the musical. Brainiac has a moment where he realizes the monkey's dead in Clayface, and then real Brainiac notices that. And Brainiac, the real Brainiac's journey starts mirroring the musical, which I think is just again brilliant meta stuff. And then by the end, and this is the dark turn, he kind of wakes up and goes, okay, I don't have my monkey, I don't have Lena, I don't have anything. They don't know how that feels, and he kills Frank on stage. And Frank is not Uncle Ben or Bruce Wayne's parents, so he could very well come back, but it was still a dark moment. And Brainiac's whole thing is now she knows how I feel.
Yeah. I want to. What do you really? All right. Well, so let's just get it. Let's just address it. Do we think Frank is actually dead? Now, granted, this is Harley Quinn. The show's completely bonkers and insane, right? But do you think it's? Do you think they should? If you do believe he's dead, do you think it's for the betterment of the show to leave him dead? I guess two-part question.
I think. All right. So my prediction is he's dead for the rest of the season.
Okay.
And will be brought back next season. The same like the Joker. Remember they killed the Joker and they brought him right back like the next season. Oh, it was now he's good guy Joker. They made a joke about it. And I think they've done it with a couple characters. So I think they'll leave him dead for the season, which is what you need the emotional beats for. And then I think they'll bring him back next season in a way that no one cares about because why not? The emotional beats are over, and I think that's probably the best way to handle it because this is Harley Quinn. Like I don't need real death, but I don't want the emotional impact cheated. And so I think the way to do that is to just let it be for this season, treat it real, and like they did the Joker, and then when you bring him back again, it's just a punchline, because you don't need the emotional weight anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be kind of really stupid if they brought him if it is like he's back next episode. Like it'd be really stupid. Like let's have some sort of some stakes. They don't need crazy stakes because again, you're right. This is Harley Quinn. This is a parody show. It's a it's a raunchy parody show that goes really crazy. Yeah, at some point in time you could bring him back. I'm not sure when. Maybe even in the finale or next season. You're right, but something has to happen, right? Because you treated Brainiac basically as a complete joke at one point, and if he's supposed to be the big bad of the season, you do need to give him something here.
Yeah,
because if he can't even kill Frank when he supposedly was wanting to, then you can't. Yeah, you can't just have it like mean nothing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Because if you can't kill Frank, then we're worried about you? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. I think we're on the same page with that then. But funny episode though, and I'm glad that they did something with him.
Yeah, no, same. And I really thought it was funny that Lena kept getting mad at Ivy. Like, stop identifying with Brainiac. That is not how Brainiac was. Brainiac is an evil lunatic. That is Clayface trying to make the villain look look relatable. And again, it was this meta stuff, right? Because isn't that what comic books do at times? Sometimes they're in, and sometimes, like in the case of Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, they're incredibly relatable anti-heroes.
Well, I mean, I thought about that too, right? But I thought more. My mind went to Penguin and Agatha, which we covered a couple of months ago, and it's true though. Like, yeah, you're right, because now we're in an era where villains, comic book villains, are getting their own shows, and yeah, the writers try to even they try to make them relatable, but the ones that do it right make sure they reinstitute at some point that this is not a good person. They can have an interesting story and have points and humanity to them on some level, but in the end, they're always a fucking villain. Not this show with these two.
And I thought that was no. I mean, they're because again, this Harley Quinn story, they're both the heroes, but that that's done perfectly with the Penguin. We talked about that, right? How that show tricked us both into identifying and really rooting for the Penguin. For me, it was like up until you found out he murdered his brothers. And I think that was where he lost you too, right?
Yeah, that's when you were like, all right, listen, the brothers, the whole thing with the mother, that finale was like, man, they're going to slap the shit out of you repeatedly to say, no, Oz is a fucking asshole. Never forget it.
But yeah, that's for Harley. I'm excited to see where it's going. I want to see Ivy lace into Brainiac. I want to see Brainiac do some villainous shit. I want to see where it's going. I never know where the show's going. So, I'm along for the ride as always.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's only a couple episodes left of the season. I didn't check the episode count, but I'm pretty sure these go, I want to say 8. 7 or 8 episodes. There's only got to be a couple episodes left. Yeah, there's only got to be a couple episodes left in the season. So.
Okay, so it's almost winding down.
Oh well, actually, they're claiming. I mean, this one thing is claiming that it is 10 episodes, which I'm not sure if how accurate that is. Oh well, you know something? Actually, I take that back. There are 10 episodes because each of the previous seasons have. Well, let's see. Season 3 and 4 both had 10 episodes. Seasons 1 and 2 had 13. So my guess is they'll probably stick with the 10 episode thing. So we got 4 more episodes after this to wrap up this Brainiac Big Bad storyline.
I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too. All right, well, let's shift over to Amazon Prime Video then for Invincible Season 3, Episode 5. I am loving this season of Invincible. I mean, I know what I said last week, but last week was very much action-packed for what it was. I thought the first 3 episodes were emotionally investing and stuff like that, but like Episode 4 was like a lot of action-packed stuff and also like catching up with Alan the Alien and Omni-Man. This episode does a lot of like character work, I think, for it. Like building up characters that I never even thought I would care about, like especially with Duplicate. Like knowing her whole thing, I never cared, but that was interesting. But yeah. Well, take it away, Jason. What do we got here for Invincible?
All right, so as you said, it's a lot of character work, a lot of character study, a lot of emotional stuff. We found Mark and Adam and Eve. I'll just call her Eve. Mark and Eve have been, a thing. They're sleeping together. They're hiding it badly, to the point of getting it on.
I'm not going to say it for you, but
appreciate it. But like Eve just rings the bell in the morning. Oh, I just happen to be walking by, and Mark's brother's like, "Why did you just fly out of Mark's window just to ring the bell?" And then they're kicking each other under the. I love like the brother relationship between Mark and the kid. I think is really good. You got that moment where the kid goes out and doesn't put his skin tone on. And you think he's doing something nefarious, and he's just having fun with some friends at a skateboard park after dark. And these older bullies come, and Mark's like ready to he's like gearing up, and Eve's like, no, don't worry, he's got this thing. So I'm not worried about them. And what the brother does is just zip around and pull their pants down and scare them. So it's a nice moment. Like, see, okay, he's really just a regular kid, right? They're trying to lull us into a false sense of security before he becomes the villain, is my thought, but nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eve and Mark are talking about moving in together. They got to make some money. Eve gets Mark a job. They start a company, Invincible Inc., and they get a job protecting the prison, which is a good thing, because the big major plot going on in this episode is a callback to like the second season, right? Like we haven't seen this rock guy for 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we saw Titan, and I honestly
almost forgot who he was.
Yeah, me too. I had to think back for a minute to remember who the heck he was for a second. But then it kind of like as we started seeing him, it started jogging my memory of exactly who he was. Yeah, you're right. I think it is. Was it early season 2, or maybe even been season 1?
It's early. It's like the first or second episode. It's early season 2, because that was when Mark tries to go out on his own and gets his ass kicked.
Yes, that sounds about right. There.
So Titan is told by I forget the guy's name, but he's pretty much the head of the underboss, the boss of the underbosses of the crime family, like the Yakuza type thing. He's old Asian guy with a metal jaw, and they keep talking about how he can turn into a dragon. And he pretty much comes to Titan. He's like, I told you to get my boy, who is Duplicate's brother, out of prison, and you haven't done that yet. And by the way, your daughter is very cute. casually throws
Very
his
creepy.
daughter, and we see at the beginning that very creepy. That that Titan's whole thing is like there's family time and then there's work time, and he tries to shield his daughter from that, and he freaks out, and so he goes to Mark and tries to convince Mark to help him break Duplicate's brother out. He won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
That leads to Titan trying to pretty much turn the tables on the underboss or on the boss. The boss does in fact turn into a dragon. His Fing Fang Foom vibes. I loved it.
Oh yes.
But he turns into this giant green dragon. They fight. He beats Titan. Titan's not right hand man kind of turns on him. This is all something that happens before is he goes to Machine Head, which was the guy that he got arrested and took his control over his territory. Machine Head pretty much tells him to go piss off. Mark won't help him. This guy turns into a dragon, goes to the prison. You see Machine Head there getting ready. You see Duplicate's brother, who we've seen him do something like this before. They have him in these restraints to control, I guess, his power or whatever.
Yes.
And earlier on in the episode, he gets out of the cell by duplicating himself so much that it just causes a bloodbath of carnage of his duplicates.
Did you know where that was going immediately once he started like duplicating himself over and over again? Okay, all right. I didn't catch on to that immediately.
I was like, he's gonna try to break out of prison with this. I don't know if it's gonna be like, at first I thought maybe they were gonna just joint force, break the door down, but then more and more and more, and you saw the blood, and I'm like, oh no, he's pushing his way out. He does the same thing with the collar. Duplicates so much that it breaks the collar, and you just see all these other duplicates fall dead around him. Mm-hmm. The dragon starts attacking the prison. Eve and Mark go to stop them. Eve thinks that she traps Duplicate's brother in a very cool fight scene where he's duplicating and she's putting each duplicate into a prison, and then she puts a huge prison around him. Yeah, I thought that was a great fight scene. And then you see at the end that one of them escaped. Wink. Then as Mark is beating the dragon, you see Machine Head go from the prison to his old digs, his old office. You see the old gentleman who is the dragon at this point, who tells his bodyguard, protect my body, because we know right there where this is going. Mm-hmm. The Machine Head goes, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm just going to kill your boss. And was it Isotope? Was the second in command that?
Yeah, he was the guy that was protecting him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Isotope then pulls another switch and teleports this guy out to the middle of nowhere. And Machine Head puts a bullet in the old guy's head, and the dragon disappears. And then Titan comes to Mark and he goes, now we're even, because Machine Head wanted to wait until this thing killed you. And it was the whole thing was this ruse to lure Mark in to help them distract the dragon while they killed the body. And Isotope was in on it. Machine Head must have come up with the plan. And Titan, and so was not dead, clearly. And so the Machine Head's back in charge. He's a lunatic. But he lets Titan go. He's like, you know what? We're even. You keep your thing. You're out of the business, but you keep your territory. But he says, if you ever cross me again, he says, I will drown your wife in your daughter's blood or something like that. He gets real graphic.
Yeah, very specific, real graphic. But Titan kind of I guess, accepts it for that moment, because I think he does mention to Mark previously in the episode that, the territory where it was a year ago, it's a lot better than it was a year ago, right? It wasn't safe at all for anyone here, but he's kind of done his thing. Granted, probably not through the best methods, but it still is safer than it was previously.
Titan kind of reminded me of that character Mannheim that we saw on the Superman show, right?
Yeah,
where
I agree.
He cares about the community, but he's also a criminal who's in for himself. And so and he says, look, and he was right, it's better than it was, and it's better than it will be under anyone else. And he's not wrong.
And it's kind of what we also see in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man with the 110th Street Gang. With Big
Yes.
Don. He also seems to be communicating the same type of vibes where it's like, hey, I am a criminal. Maybe I don't always do this by the right methods, but under everything, I do care about the people in the community. But I'm still going to get my piece, as it is.
Right. Exactly. And then, you did have a moment which I skipped over. I want to go back to just where Duplicate goes to see her brother and tries to say, like, look, I don't know why you did that. I was like this close to getting Cecil use you as an asset. And he's like, I don't want out. He's like, what? I'm going to go from one master to another. And he pretty much tells her, you and I are in the same boat. You just think you're on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, it's Dad's birthday. So go ahead.
No, I was going to mention the whole thing with their dad, that he was basically driven insane by the two of them, with them as kids multiplying all over the place, and he just basically went nuts over time. That was eerie, to be completely honest with you. To me, I found it eerie that's how far it pushed him, because he's like there and he's just like drooling and staring, like he went into some sort of like a coma or like a trance.
Yeah, because this episode does kind of dip into, well, what does it look like in real life to have these powers?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, if you exhibit Duplicate Kate's powers and her brother can do the same thing because they're twins, right? Yep. If you'd have 1 billion kids all over the place, yeah, I would go insane too.
Yeah, I completely would lose my shit. So I mean, I totally identified. I guess that's why I found it to be like so eerie, on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the brother blames the father and Kate does not. And at the end, Kate gets this thing that we saw their father holding, which is like a cutout of many people. So she knows that he's out there. And then the big reveal is, the old dragon ain't dead, because he opens his eyes. And so that's coming home to roost.
Yeah, that he's definitely going to be pretty pissed when he comes back, because I mean, he was a serious freaking threat to begin with. Like, I don't know if he's going to necessarily be the big bad. Maybe he is going to be the big bad of the entire season. Not really sure, to be honest with you. But his powers were crazy, that he just completely went into this like huge dragon thing. It wasn't just like something like I'm going to be honest. I wasn't sure if he could actually do that. But then once he does, I'm like, wow, this dude wasn't fucking joking. He literally turns into a dragon.
I agree, because they're talking about how scary he is just as a boss. And then Machine Man, whatever his name is, says something to the effect of, and Machine Head, he's like, he can turn into a dragon and eat people. I've seen him do it. But it does feel like lore. It's almost like that the Kaiser Soze thing in Usual Suspects. Like, all these criminals have these different tales of like this fucking scary mob boss that, he's the boogeyman you tell your kids about. Be careful, or, Kaiser Soze is going to come for you, right? And it's the same thing here. But no, he can actually follow through on that. And he's about to beat Mark. I mean, he says to Mark, you get your pace. I got mine from magic. I got mine from a dimension that you can't even imagine. So, I think he was going to beat Mark.
I do too. And I think that, Mark is pretty lucky that he went ahead and he got some help from Machine Head there, who killed the guy. Who even says like he kills the body, at least temporarily, but says that he felt like he was even cheating when he was doing that, because obviously he was defenseless when he shoots him.
Right, but it still doesn't.
The other moment I wanted to ask you about was the moment that you referenced when Oliver was in the park skateboarding with the kids and the bully showed up, right? Invincible and Eve are watching to see what he's going to do. When Oliver makes that fist, did you think shit was going to go awry? Like Mark apparently was scared was going to happen?
Oh, fuck yeah. I thought this was going to be the heel turn, because we've seen him do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've seen him murder people, so I thought this was going to be that. But It wasn't, and I like that it wasn't. It kept me on my toes.
Yeah, he just goes ahead and pantses them, and that's pretty much it. And they have a good laugh, and they move on. And he tells his mom that, hey, Oliver's a kid, he's doing kid things, but his mother does say plays up later on, where she tells Mark that she can't chase him down or watch him like he can, like by a flyover and do all this stuff. So that convinces Mark to not move out because him and Eve were going to move out and get their own place so they can have some privacy and and move on and do their thing. But that kind of reverses course exactly. And that's where that's a big thing. And then they all agree that's kind of what's best, and they decide to take their relationship a little bit slower because it's going quick at the moment.
Yeah. And it ends with a nice moment between Mark and his mom where she's like, no, I'm so glad. Thank God you're going to stay. And she goes, look, just so you know, just for the record, I know that you and Eve are having sex. And Mark's like, thanks, Mom. Great. And he uses his powers to super fast to get out of there.
Yep, time to go. Bye-bye now.
Because it's so odd. They're not even good at hiding it.
No, they're not. And I thought it was really funny, too, when Oliver was describing from his perspective what was happening. Like they were just being noisy about whatever it is. And I forgot what he referenced, what they said. He thought they were playing and they were being noisy.
They were playing, but too loudly, and it woke me up.
Exactly. Oh, that was funny. That was good stuff. Yeah. I don't know. The show just continues to have a nice balance. Like I really like the pacing of this season, the way it's going. I admit there are previous seasons where I kind of felt like the pacing was a little bit off, especially in season 2 at times. But no, this is I've been all in with every episode we've had so far.
Yeah, same. I think this is my favorite season so far, and I have liked the other seasons, but there's just something, like this is polished. Like first season I thought it was hit or miss. Second season I thought started out a bit weak and then it ended really strong. This has been consistently strong every episode so far.
Yeah, I agree. Great.
Oh, and I didn't even get to Rex and his girl. They have their dinner.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
I did want to talk about that because again, this is an episode about relationships with Eve and Mark, but we also see Rex Explosion and the girl the woman that he has been kind of trying to be better for. And they have the whole thing where he makes her a meal, but it's at midnight. And he's like, well, this took longer than I thought. But hey, I could follow directions. And they have this drink of like this 300 or 400-year-old like wine that he stole from the Immortal. And they both drink it. And they're like, oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. We got to eat. And that's really it. But you do see, it's a nice character moment of these two getting together and seeing like, this is a genuine budding romance between these two. Rex isn't just trying to get in her pants. Rex is, for the first time, I think, kind of smitten with someone.
Yeah, I think so too, because he does mention in the whole thing with him, he pays off from episode 4, where he wants to make her dinner because if you remember his reaction last week was like, oh, when we were on team, I took Robot's credit card and would just order out all the time. And I was having like ramen noodles and pizza and stuff like that, and like it was nothing. But because he knows that all she wanted to do was cook dinner for the team, he takes his time to do it. And he even says, "Oh, it's from a meal kit," but like this stuff is tough. Hey, meal kit's real cooking, man. Right.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. And I think it's symbolic of him growing up, right? He's been the most kind of childlike, the most stunted when it comes to the superhero team. I mean, and there are children on the team who are more mature than him, and I think this is a maturity thing, right? Because you said last episode, it's like we just ate pizza and ramen for credit card I stole, and now here he is trying to make a meal for someone. So it's kind of a very adult thing to do,
Yeah, I thought so. I thought that was also a nice moment. So. Well, you're right. This episode, it really is about relationships, for the most part, until we get to like the action at the end of the scene. I mean, the episode where, Mark and Eve are fighting a fucking dragon and, a multiplying person. But there's a lot of guts.
This is still a superhero show. we still need some action and excitement, but it doesn't feel the need to be wall to wall fighting. That's what I appreciate about it. Like, it takes time to have tender character moments, to build relationships between these characters, to make them feel real and to make the world feel real. And then it gives you crazy Fin Fang Foom type stuff, and that's okay. I'm good with that. I like that stuff. But the fact that they know it's pacing wise, as you said, right? We're going to give you, there's an hour show. We're going to give you 40 minutes of emotional stuff and 20 minutes of a kick-ass fight. And
yeah, and that works. That works. So yeah, all right. I'm again on board with Invincible, and I know they only do 8 episodes, so that one shockingly does feel like No, they always do drop 8. So I mean, after this, we only got a couple left. So, or a few.
Yeah, that's a shame. I like the show.
Yeah, and they're not going to do that whole mid-season break thing that they did last year that pissed a lot of people off, apparently.
Yeah, look, you've only got 8 episodes. You don't need to. What are you taking a break from?
Yeah, I didn't get that. It was pretty dumb. All right. So that brings us to our main event of the week, which was Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the 2-part finale, episodes 9 and 10, which apparently Jason is officially locked in on. The show has its claws, its tentacles locked into Jason now, because now we've got him fully on board with the show. But yeah, we will.
Sorry, the internet broke up. I didn't hear what you.
No, I said you're fully on board and locked in with the show now. So,
yes,
we got that. So let's jump into episode 9. Then we'll get through this as quick as we can with this. I really love the opening scene where Norman goes to visit Otto in prison, because as we saw in episode 8, he got taken down by Iron Man, and he goes there to strictly brag that he did it. He wants Otto to know it was him. It was almost like Game of Thrones when what's her name? Was it not Marjorie? Whoever it was, it turned into a meme where she said to Lannister, to Jaime Lannister, I want her to know. I want Cersei to know it was me.
Yes.
So,
and that was so on brand for their relationship, for that character, because they are rival scientists, right? And especially in the newer runs and the newer stuff, it's like they, in some books or some games, some storylines, Otto, and in this one, Otto worked for him, and then they took a different course, and then so yeah, like they're rivals. They hate it. They respect each other, but they hate each other, and that's all over this scene. Like, because Norman would not go and gloat to someone he did not respect.
Oh, for sure. And also, like, Norman brags to him that he's taking all his designs because they've confiscated his equipment.
Yes.
And he's going to just basically, I'm stealing your work too. Like, all of this is mine now. And, he's bragging about it. But I think it's important to note that this here is what really, I think, it will end up being the driving force behind Otto. Besides, we've seen his resentment for Stark and for Banner and stuff like that, wants to get his due as a scientist. He screams at Norman at the end of this, telling him that he's coming for him, that he's gonna do all this. And that jumps to the end of episode 10 in the finale, where we see him in prison with the sketches of the arms and stuff like that. And it's the way the scene is presented, where it's Otto's back and then the tentacles are coming out. Like, he's going to now build his own suit to become Dr. Octopus now.
Yep. And we know how it's going to get stuck there, because they've already smartly set up, like, the work, the Otto cuts corners and uses gamma radiation. And this was like a throwaway line maybe 2 episodes ago, when they were talking about like the first female that he fought that had the Otto's tech.
Unicorn,
and they had said like, that's it, Unicorn, where they were like, he cuts too many corners and uses gamma radiation, and if that overheats, that can meld with your skin. And so, like, that's exactly how it's going to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's great foreshadowing on their part. But then the 110th Street Gang, who got their information from the Chameleon last episode, they're going to go ahead and track down this Oscorp truck that is bringing Otto's designs, from, I guess, the wherever it is, maybe the police station, whatever it is, it's transporting it. That's the bottom line. And they get that tip, and they're going to go hijack this truck, right? Because they want their own tech. And then at the same time, Nico happens to be by when they're hijacking this truck. And there is a police escort around this truck. And I think it's important to note, like, Tombstone, who's with the 110th Street Gang, is telling them, like, dude, you guys, like, you sure about this? You want to fuck with the police? Like, because he's still, like, morally on the fence with this. Like, he's still not all in on being a villain at all. He's still trying to do what he's got to do, by a certain code. And they're not having that. So they're messing with the police and stuff. And the truck itself is about to flip over when it's stopped in midair. And there's finally the costume reveal of the traditional Spider-Man costume, which is there. We just see the back of it from Nico's perspective. I thought that reveal was fucking awesome. Because this is the first time we get to see it in this show.
I did too. It was exciting. It was great that it was revealed saving Nico because, in the last episode, they're not talking because, he didn't tell her that he's a superhero. Don't get me started. Everyone who listens to this show knows my feelings about that. But the fact that it's her, and then we get the new costume, and we get a pretty kick-ass fight scene that ensues after this.
Oh, we were going to get to that fight scene because it was a chunk of the episode, but I do want to chime in though with after this fight's over. Though, there's a really cool moment in the alley where Nico catches up with Peter, and she kind of rescinds and she calls herself out for being, a bit over the top with this, and she's like, maybe it didn't happen how you wanted it to, but what I saw, you had just do. But not even a moment's hesitation about saving these people and putting your life on the line. I saw a true hero there, right? The same one that saved me back when we first met. So I do think that her being irrational, as much as we killed her for it last week, we got to give the show props for it coming around and like having the character realize that they were being completely irrational about it. So back to that fight scene, though, that jumps in. So between 110th Street Gang, Spider-Man shows up. He's taking them down fairly easily, too. Like, he's kind of just, like, talking shit and doing his Spider-Man thing. And I think that's important to note, too, because as he's webbing him up and taking him down, when he sees Lonnie, he stops in his tracks for a minute. And he's like, oh, shit. Yep. Like, he doesn't want to, like, how do I deal with this? Now, this is now the Peter Parker Spider-Man conflict here. Of what's going to happen.
This is my friend. This isn't my old lab partner. This is the guy. I know he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But what do I do?
Who's just stuck? Yeah, who's stuck in the wrong situation here. But when that happens, that's when the Scorpions arrive on the scene. And then their whole fight starts taking place. It's 110th Street Gang versus the Scorpions. They're duking it out. And then one of the cool moments in this, too, is when Peter sees the Scorpion again for the first time since he almost killed him, a couple episodes ago, and he has straight up anxiety when he sees him. Like, he doesn't know what to. He kind of freezes for a second, and then he's like, "All right, I gotta kind of get out of this. I have to do my thing." And they get into their fight. It's this big, drag out fight there, and Scorpion though is fighting Big Don and whipping his ass. And is about to kill him until Spider-Man intervenes, right? And then there's a moment where we find out a lot about Big Don, where Lonnie talks to him while Spider-Man and Scorpion are fighting, and he's like asking for advice, like, you're the leader, what do I do? Our guys are getting their asses kicked, yada yada. And he's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, and totally tucks his tail between his legs and gets out of there, and leaves Lonnie to be the one to lead the 110th Street Gang at that point. That I thought was a pretty wild moment there. And he sees it what it's for. And he's like, all right, well, what do I do to turn the tide here? He goes to the Oscorp truck and trying to dig through it to try to find some tech to battle the Scorpion. And of course, classic comic book form, a canister breaks open, he gets sprayed by this gas, and he acquires his tombstone abilities, to start off for the most part.
Nicely done, I thought, on their end. It wasn't over the top, it wasn't crazy, it didn't drive him insane, because he in this fight, he once from the Scorpion and once from himself.
Yeah. And he interrupts the fight because there's a fight there where Scorpion and Spider-Man are fighting at this point, and Scorpion's about to go ahead and try to kill Peter again, and with his tail, Lonnie jumps in front of it and basically was going to take it to his chest. Lonnie didn't know he had superpowers at that point, so he was going to sacrifice himself to save Spider-Man, which I thought was really awesome. And then you find out like he can't penetrate his chest, like he has that ability now, and then he doesn't know what to do. And then Lonnie, aka Tombstone, and Spider-Man team up to fight Scorpion, and they take him down. They have this big drag out fight with him and stuff like that, and it's pretty cool to see them team up to take him down. And then during that, though, there's a moment where Spider-Man's fighting him, and he thinks to himself all the stuff that Norman was telling him. It starts replaying in his head about, you're holding back. They don't hold back. That's why he almost killed you. And he stops holding back. And he really starts beating him to a pulp. Even you see the 110th Street Gang back, like, oh shit. Like, he's going to fucking kill him. It was very much like the moment in No Way Home with Green Goblin.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, he's standing there, and like the Scorpion is unconscious at this point. He's beaten him so badly, which goes to show you like how powerful he is. He has really been holding back, but he's standing there over him with his tail, and he's about to murder this dude with his own tail. And it's Lonnie who steps in and says, "Whoa, this isn't you," which I think is a great moment, because you know that at some point next season we're going to get a shadow of that moment where Lonnie has kind of gone over to too much.
Yes.
And Peter's got to talk him back. I mean, we better get that. But it's a great character moment between these two, because he makes Peter see like, no, you can't cross this line. This is a line you cannot cross. You're the hero.
Yep.
And I thought that the fact that it was Lonnie, that's it. And the fact that Lonnie's telling him this, Lonnie, who is a budding supervillain, he's just become the head of the gang, but like he's got this code, and he knows even if it's twisted, he's got this code of morality, and he's the one who gets through Peter Parker, and that the reason that the Scorpion is not murdered there.
Yeah. And the fact that, like what we talked about last week, is with Norman being the one to be Peter's mentor, until we'll get to the next episode. And then, Lonnie the one to talk him down. But that whole thing was driving him to basically what we saw coming, that it was like if he drove him to that and Lonnie wasn't there, Peter crosses that line and murders him. And that changes his whole trajectory. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, that's why the foreshadowing was good too, but he saw him and sort of having these panic attacks, because it's like, it also gives us the audience to understand, like, no, he's not evil. He's not taking Norman's advice because he's bloodthirsty. He's just so scared because he nearly died himself. He doesn't want that to happen. So I thought the way the show handled it was very, very well done. Yeah,
and because he even tells Lonnie too, he's just like, if someone doesn't stop him, he's never going to stop. Like, Scorpion's going to keep coming back until he's put down, because he's really convinced at that moment until he's talked down. So I thought that was really, really awesome. Well written there. But then Norman gives Peter a call later on to basically do a debrief. And the conversation ends up going to reassure him, where Norman's assuring him that he didn't cross the line and that he did the right thing, then that being the difference between a hero and a villain. So,
yes.
Yeah, so I thought that was very interesting, again, because we know where Norman goes and, eventually will go one day. But that tells you, though, that Norman himself also knows that there's a line to cross between the two that he will one day himself cross. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes.
And then immediately after, Norman goes ahead and calls in his people, his crew there at Oscorp, and is checking in on them. And we basically get the reveal that Norman has the internship program because he wanted basically to take more of their ideas and their inventions to build his monolith, his operation or project monolith that he has that we get in episode 10. But the big thing here is that he talks to Whitman and asks him for an update on his project. Jason, it's exactly what happened, is that he gets the update that Peter's blood was being injected into fucking spiders because he was going to replicate Spider-Man's powers. Remember when we talked about when he helped him last time? That was the scene that
we did.
It was a very quick blink and you miss it thing, but that's exactly what went down.
Yep, because that is a very Norman Osborn thing to do. He wants to create an army of Spider-Man, or wants the power for himself. This is what happens when corporate greed has control of, superpowers or the ability to get superpowers, right?
Yeah, we've seen this in The Boys. We've seen it in all walks of this stuff at this point, where this is what happens. So in episode 10, that opens up in the season finale where Nico's covering for Peter because now I feel she's even closer to him than before because he's going to be late for his science class where he has to give a presentation. She offers even to do hers first, and I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, Peter at the same time though is working with Harry, and they're stopping some car thefts that are going on prior to school. And I thought Peter has a nice line to Harry where Harry's suggesting, hey, maybe you should slow down on your Spider-Maning before you got class. And he's like, dude, I can't control when people are stealing cars. Like, what the hell do you want me to do?
Poor Spider-Man has no work-life balance. I remember watching the Spider-Man movies, and every time I watch anything Spider-Man, I know a lot of people watch Spider-Man and go, man, I wish I had his powers. I watch Spider-Man and I go, having his powers must be hell if you feel the need to constantly save everyone because you don't get a life of your own.
No, and that's always the internal struggle with Peter Parker, right? Like there's the Parker Luck stuff that goes on because obviously we've been over this a bunch where Marvel and their writers love to drive Peter through the ringer as much as humanly possible, more than any other character in Marvel. And part of it is his work-life balance, is just bananas. Even after school, right? Because in school, he's genius. He gets high grades all the time. But this is in spite of him being late all the time and missing class and all this other stuff because he's too busy saving lives.
Yeah, he's the kid in high school that you go, I don't know what's going on with you. You've got so much potential. You could be doing so much better. And he's like, I don't know what to tell you, because I can't tell you that I'm out saving lives,
And the perfect encapsulation of that is in Spider-Man 2. One of the reasons why, it's so highly regarded as arguably the best Spider-Man movie is what Otto says to him in that. Lazy. It's genius, but lazy. I think it's like genius, but lazy.
Yeah, genius, but lazy. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's perceived as lazy because he's late all the freaking time. But yet it's because he's saving everybody. All right, so Norman unveils Project Monolith, which we find out is a gateway to the galaxy. And what Peter invented is powering this damn machine. So, and Norman pitches it to them as saying, listen, the Chitauri showed up, right, with the hole in the sky, and they can instantly transport. Thor can instantly transport. And he's like, if all these gods can do that, we can do that. That's his whole rationale behind this whole project that we've got here. Then Doctor Strange shows up right before they're going to go ahead and turn this machine on. And he has this whole thing.
Time travel.
He shows up and exactly. He tells them, shut it down. Well, at this point, he hasn't yet, right? Because this is what gets crazy.
No, you're right.
He shows up and he's like, Norman, shut it down. This is a gateway to galaxy. You don't know what's on the other side. This is too dangerous for you guys. And Peter quickly recognizes, like, oh, wait a second. That's the guy that was in front of the school. And this is when things start to like get wacky here, like in a good way though. I do love the payoff that was here.
This is what hooked me into the series.
I'm
this
sure
stuff that happened. Series,
and then the gateway that's opened by the machine though is where we get that symbiote-looking creature that we saw in episode 1, and he comes through. Strange and Spider-Man start fighting this thing, and they're trying to take him down or whatever. But during the battle, Strange tries to send it to the Dark Dimension and sends him and Peter to the Dark Dimension immediately, but they find their way back. And he also uses the Time Stone, right? In the Eye of Agamotto there, and is fighting the creature while he's doing that to try to slow him down. But then during the battle, it gets activated by mistake, where he's tussling with this creature. And then we get the hole in the sky, and he lands by Midtown High. And the exact things that are quoted, because if you remember back to episode 1, it's key to remember. Strange even says, "We're not supposed to be here. Where are we?" and everything like that.
Yes.
And that's because he came from the future, and he's heard what's happened.
Yep.
That's there.
Yep.
And
they foreshadow it. They foreshadow it before that because Norman says something to him like, hey, well, he references that you were at the school when this battle happened. And he said, "I've never been. What are you talking about? I've never been to that school." And he kind of looks at Peter and goes like, "Well, I have it on good authority by someone who was there." And that's when I was like, "Oh shit, I know it's time travel. And that's exactly what happened. He had never been there because it didn't happen for him yet.
Yeah, it's so wild. But then the spider that we saw in episode 1, remember, we speculated that it came from a different dimension and all this other stuff because we didn't know. And I love the show for not having us. I had no idea. Obviously, while this episode's playing out, you see where this is going. And that spider came from there because it was injected with Peter's blood in the previous episode. So that's how they got to there. We see it bite Peter all over again. And that's how Peter gets his powers from basically future Peter, who had his blood taken and injected into a spider. But once they go back to Oscorp, where Spidey has this machine back up and running because he's working on the machine while this is all going on, a bunch of symbiotes try to come racing through the portal, and they get stopped by Doctor Strange while he can go in and turn them on. He holds them off with his magic and stuff like that. Spider-Man goes in and wraps up the creature, throws him through there, keeps him out while they can destroy the machine and shut down the gate. But a small piece of a symbiote gets through and is there, which Norman finds later. So, and we don't see what Norman does with this just yet. But you put Norman Osborn, you put a piece of a symbiote in front of Norman Osborn, I'm sure we're going to find somewhere he's going to end up creating Venom.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure. And I wonder if we're going to have the whole it attaches to Peter first. I'm curious, like how they handle this, because at this point we've seen Venom handled many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Some good, some not so good. So I'm curious if this is going to be it melds with Parker and that's why it hates him, or it's like a Norman Osborn thing and that's why it's after Peter. I'm really curious how this plays out.
I'm going to be honest, I have no idea because of what happens after this when Peter basically is talking to Harry and Nico and says that he doesn't trust Norman anymore. And he's kind of like wants to, like he doesn't trust him of what he did because it basically Norman revealed that he's been basically using everybody the whole time with this whole thing. So he doesn't want no part of it. But then Nico suggests to Harry, why don't you just start a company and do it your own way? Because Harry's like, yeah, I think maybe now thinking about it in retrospect, my father was better off giving you and the interns the ability to do your own thing. And he creates a company called Web that he invites all the geniuses to. And that goes with, Tombstone gets invited. Lonnie gets invited to it. We also see that the girl that was in the one of the interns was basically an undercover sidekick for Daredevil that was there, and she's going to go ahead and join Web now too. That she's been involved in it. So I thought that was pretty awesome to see. That was really cool, man. I thought that was sick. I didn't see that one coming either. There was a lot of surprises they got me with in this episode.
I agree. And what I thought was cool was not everyone joins, right? Like there is the one guy, like the asshole intern, the one who was really the jerk out of them, who no, he gets a good job. He gets a job with Norman. So it's like you see alliances being made, which I think is cool.
Yeah, so there was so a big thing with Lonnie too is after he accepts, he goes and he ditches his college jacket. I mean his high school jacket, which kind of leads you to believe like he is moving on. For me, that was very symbolic that he's like, exactly, he's beginning down his path now.
Yeah. He's the leader of the 110 now. I mean, I think that's clear. Like they come and pick him up and they're asking him for advice. Like, you know, I think, the old leader fucking ran with his tail between his legs, as you said, and Lonnie stayed and Lonnie protected them. And now I think Lonnie feels, you were going to explore that. Lonnie feels like, because it's who he is, I'm responsible for them. And now I've got to guide them and take care of them. But now we're going to see him kind of get corrupted by the dark side of that life. And I'm again, the Tombstone Lonnie stuff, I think, is the best stuff that this show does, hands down.
It's really good. And also a big reveal too is that Aunt May goes to visit Richard Parker in prison. Peter's father's alive. Well, alive, he's in prison, but he's alive in this. So that's going to obviously pay off in season 2 because they've set that up too. And I thought there was also a really nice moment where Peter goes back to Midtown that's being rebuilt, and I'm sure that's where they'll be in season 2. But he finds Doctor Strange there, and they have a nice moment, a whole discussion there, where Doctor Strange like really feels good about what Peter is doing there, and Peter also explains to him like, hey, like I guess things that when destiny is involved, like things that are going to happen one way or the other. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't. But he's kind of where he wants, where he feels like he needs to be. And, Doctor Strange leaves that conversation saying, I think you're on a good path, kid. Like, I'm going to, he respects him a lot. He gets a lot of respect for him as a fellow hero in this. So I thought that was pretty cool. And to end it, Spidey's swinging through the city, also kind of like No Way Home, where he's given like a little bit of a monologue here. How he'll just figure things out as they come along and stuff. And he's got his confidence now. And, he swings into the camera shot and, saying he's Spider-Man. And that's the finale that we get. I thought, I'm going to be honest, I love this show. This is, in my opinion, outstanding Spider-Man here is what we got, I think, by the end of this. What were your thoughts on the season overall? Well, the finale and the season, because I thought they stuck the landing. To me, this finale stuck the landing big time.
They stuck the landing big time. I absolutely agree. And yeah, I like this. Like, again, I still don't love the moments where they're aping the MCU, and that's not going to change. But what I liked about these last 2 episodes is there wasn't that. They were like the stuff with Doctor Strange is fresh, right? Because this is not their relationship in the MCU. The stuff with Octavius becoming Doc Ock, that's fresh. Lonnie again. Lonnie's whole thing, his character arc, I think, was my favorite. I thought the Scorpion was really, really well done. I mean, the characterization on him was amazing.
Menacing. And then really menacing.
Very menacing. He's scary. Like, this Scorpion is scary in a way I don't think the comic book Scorpion is. And then at the end, opening up the symbiotes, and Null is kicking around somewhere. We might have some Venom, and again, this is stuff I've not seen in the MCU, and that's what I want from this. I want stuff I haven't experienced yet, and these 2 episodes really gave me that. I even came around to Harry. I still want to cut his man bun, but I like the relationship between the 3 of them and how it's grown. So yeah, I think overall, I think it was an excellent season, and I'm really excited to see And you know what? I thought I wanted to see Green Goblin this season, but I'm glad I didn't. They say they're saving stuff, and I cannot wait to see when he suits up. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, I agree. I remember I did mention that I thought that was going to be in the finale last week, but obviously that was off because I had no idea that this time travel, thing was going to come into play whatsoever. I really did not see that coming. Like what happened in the season premiere, I was not thinking about whatsoever. That was not in my mind until obviously in the finale when they started talking about it. I'm like, oh shit. It was time travel. That's how he got his power. So he's still technically, I guess, somewhat of a radioactive spider. Still got him, but a little bit differently than the usual.
Yeah, which I'm okay with. And I think I said in the first episode, I wasn't crazy about that setup because I didn't know where it was coming from. But once they explain it, I probably will be. And now I am, especially since the explanation is time travel. I mean, come on. You can explain anything to me like that, and I'll accept it.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't know. And hey, listen, I am super excited that we got a cool, fresh take on Spider-Man going here. And yeah, the fact that it is it ended up being an alternate timeline from the MCU, that's, well, again, that's fine. I'm curious to see if they're going to if there's going to be an acknowledgement of the blip at some point. Like, are they going to play with that here? Are they going to integrate it or not? Or are they maybe in this universe that never happened? I don't know. I am fascinated to see how much they still hold on to certain things in the MCU being integrated or not. Because they can kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. I hope they don't do a blip. I hope they get as far away from the MCU as possible because I've seen the blip. I don't really need to see a what if Spider-Man wasn't involved in Infinity War. I really need to see some fresh Spider-Man stuff doing things I haven't seen before. And that's where I'm hoping that it was just kind of like, all right, we're going to find our footing and be with the MCU and kind of run tandem for a bit. But now that it's found its footing, I hope that it kind of just goes off and does its own thing.
Which I can completely see one way or the other. Because they're not beholden to the MCU.
Same. They're not.
All right, so I mean, I can't wait. As I know this show, they greenlit season 2. They've already started working on season 3. That's been greenlit also. They were already doing voice work, I think, already in season 2. So hopefully that's back sooner than later. But yeah, this was a pleasant surprise because I wasn't 100% sure what we were getting with this show, but cool stuff, man.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, that kind of does it for us then this week. Thanks for joining us as always. If you joined us on the Facebook live stream, be sure to check us out on Granny's PhD's Facebook group. That's where we drop a bunch of trailers and articles and various stuff. It's a lot of fun, or goofy panels that we find, whatever the heck you want. It's a lot of fun there. Check us out there. Check us out at Pop Culture Pros and popculturepros.com because that's we are presented by. And also on YouTube, check out and subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. You can check out us and all the other fun shows that are on the network and wherever you found your audio-only podcast. Also, another reminder, it is up, our spoiler review for Captain America Brave New World. Whether you want to see it within our episode or on its own, whichever way you want to watch it, both are widely available. Jason and I will be back next week. We will be discussing the next episode of Harley Quinn, Season 5, along with Invincible. And we will be doing a movie next week. We just have not quite decided on which one. It will be a one-off, because then after that, Daredevil Born Again, baby. Daredevil is back. And man, Marvel ramping up. It's everywhere. The posters are everywhere. The billboards are everywhere. The commercials are everywhere. It's exciting times, man.
I am very excited, and you know what? I'm excited for this Daredevil, but I'm also excited because I know it brings me one step closer to the return of Jessica Jones.
It's true. There's been a lot of that going around lately. A lot of talk about the other defenders. So
I think it's going to happen. I really do.
I would be shocked if it doesn't, to be completely honest with you. And I think she would be the first one out of the gates right after, because we know Punisher is in this, even though he's technically not a defender, but still.
But yeah, no, I think they would go in order. Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. I think if they were going to bring them all back, they're going to go in the order that they appeared in the or debuted in. So, but even if they don't, I'm very excited for Daredevil.
I will say one thing I did see thrown out there today. In episode 2 of Daredevil Born Again, Kingpin makes a mention of a kid in a spider costume. Don't give me hope.
My internet kicked out. A kid what? Because my internet kicked out for a second.
Oh, are you serious? I thought you were messing with me.
Yeah, no, I miss what you had said.
Kingpin in episode 2 of Daredevil Born Again, it was reported today that Kingpin makes a reference to a kid in a spider costume running around New York City.
Wow. All right. So what you think Tom Holland might be tooling around here?
I don't know, but you know how badly I want the Kingpin. I want Spider-Man versus Kingpin in the worst way in the MCU.
Oh.
At some point.
I'd love it. Put D'Onofrio as the villain of the next Spider-Man movie.
Yes.
We know D'Onofrio can do
absolutely.
Film. I mean, yeah.
So, all right. We'll leave you with that little bit of a nugget, though. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Peace.
Later.